Hello, good morning, everyone, or afternoon, wherever you might be. I'm here again with Grandpa B, talking about the next Mugs and Puddles book. This one, the Goose Joke Book. Say that three times real fast. It is a really fun, entertaining book, a book that all of your kids are going to want to get. Join me in welcoming Grandpa B. Hey, Roland, how you doing today?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me.
Absolutely. So, tell us a little bit about first tell us just a little bit about you and how you became Grandpa B and the author of all these fun Mugs and Puddles books.
Yeah, so I have two granddaughters, and that kind of just changed everything for me. My first book that I came out with was I'm Not a Princess, I'm a Superhero. And that was my granddaughter was over one day. I wasn't planning on writing a book. I didn't have one in my future, never even thought about it. And my daughter said to her, "You're my little princess." And she turned around and put her hands on her hips and said, "I'm not a princess, I'm a superhero," and walked off. And that minute I just sat down and just started writing and illustrating books. And so this is my fourth book. And what I saw, I've kind of let my granddaughters, Mugs and Puddles, so I call them, kind of let them dictate what I write. I noticed that my oldest granddaughter, who now is 7, when she was like 6, I started teaching her jokes because I love jokes. And I found that she could go up to she was not shy, but she wasn't really outgoing at the time, but she could go up to any adult and tell them a joke and feel perfectly comfortable. And they would go, "Oh, that's so nice. Oh, that's so funny. How did you think of that?" and stuff. And she felt like $1,000,000 and she didn't have any fear there. So everything I do in my books is to try to help those young kids overcome any kind of fear that they might have or they might think they have, because a lot of fears we have is just things that we decided one day that we have fear. My youngest granddaughter started saying, "I'm shy, Grandpa, I'm shy." And after self-talk and working with her, it sounds weird, but working with her, now she's not shy anymore. But she just started mapping that onto herself when she was 5. And I'm going, where did that come from? And when we got down to it, someone just told her that she was a little shy girl and she just took it on. And once we got rid of that, she doesn't say it anymore. So the joke book helps them have something that they didn't know that no one else knows, and they can go up to an adult or up to their peer and tell a joke and get a laugh, and all of a sudden it makes them feel good.
So, give us a little bit of taste of some of the silly goose kind of jokes.
Yeah, so it's a lot of them that you might know, and then there's about 100 and something different jokes. And the other thing I did add to it, and I'll share here in a minute, is I added different ways to say goodbye, like "see you later, alligator." There's 100 of those. I didn't know there was that many, but then hit the road. It's off the top of my mind. I can't remember all of them, but there's a whole bunch of those. And then there's the jokes is like, what do you call a cow jumping on a trampoline? And then you open it and there's an illustration of a cow going off a trampoline. This is a milkshake. And so it's just simple, easy jokes like that. There's only one fart joke in the whole book. I promised my wife I'd only do one fart joke. Since there are for little girls, they're not as into farts as boys. So, but it always gets a good laugh.
We'll have to do a separate Grandpa B's fart joke book.
Exactly. just for little boys, no girls allowed, because they're too sweet to have those thoughts.
Because little girls never do that kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But I just love to see these kids grow in confidence, and I'm really working with because I've owned a business for 38 years, and worked with tons of business owners. And the ones that really succeed are those ones that be able to overcome fears and have that confidence. So I want to bring that. And so many people have baggage. I know I have a ton of baggage. I feel like I put a backpack on some mornings. I take some out, I put others in. And I want to have my granddaughters, especially, and anybody else that will pick up the books, is to start getting rid of some of that baggage and not have to carry things that we have a tendency to give our kids. You know, I watch different people talk to their kids, and I go, you're loading them up with your crap. Just take it away. Let them have that freedom. Let them be themselves and really grow.
I don't remember if I asked you this last time, with any of the other books, but what is the origin story of the nicknames Mugs and Puddles?
So the youngest, Puddles, when she was born, she was just a puddle of goo. She drooled all the time, and then when you picked it up, she didn't. So I just started calling her Puddles, and that was what it just stuck. And so She's the only one that she likes me to call Puddles is her. I'm the only one she allows to call Puddles. Everybody else calls, no, my name's Camden. Only Grandpa can call me Puddles. But my oldest one, the oldest granddaughter, my mom was named, her nickname was Mugs, because when she was born, my grandfather, they were going to name her Madeline. No, they were going to name her Ruth Ann. And my grandfather, when he put the birth certificate in, because this was back in the 40s, he just wrote in Madeline Adelaide. And my grandma was so upset she'd only call her Mugs her whole life. So I just said, hey, that'll honor my mom. And so Mugs and Puddles, that's how it came about.
I love that. I love how he just decided.
Yeah.
This is what the name's going to be.
And back then they don't have it wasn't the same as now. Now it would be a major theme, but she just said, okay, if that's what you're going to name her, you call her that. I'm not calling her that. So
definitely is a real peek into the way society was back in the 1940s versus now. Can you imagine somebody these days being like, no, I just decided this is what I'm going to name our kid, and you could just forget it.
Exactly. My grandma she had 8 kids, and she was very strong, but I don't know what happened there. I guess my grandfather decided you got to name all 8 of them. My mom was second to the last. I'm naming this one, so I don't know.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about Silly Goose Joke Book, our latest Mugs and Puddles book. I do like the whole concept of the ability to be able to give children confidence and things like that. What about, I know with my youngest son, he was the only one of my kids that didn't really take to reading. The rest of them were kind of avid readers, but my youngest, he was very, very anti-reading when he was little. And joke books for him, because we let him, we went to the library every week with the kids, and he was always like, and we just were like, you can get any book you want to. And he comes running up to me. He's like, I found a joke book. Can I get this joke book? And I was like, yeah, you can get any kind of book you want. And that, that was what sparked his, he's an avid reader now. He reads, I work with authors. I read books for a living, and he reads more books than I do. Talk a little bit more about that whole concept of teaching a child to really learn to read and love to read more than just learn it.
Yeah, and I think that's what I found with this joke book is when my granddaughters read, they read separately a lot of times, and then they'll get together and talk about it, and the other one will pick up the book. But with the joke book, their heads are squashed together and they're telling each other the jokes. So they'll say it and they'll try to guess what it is. What is it? And oh no. And then that's it, and they're interacting so much more. And then they will stop reading and they'll run to their mom and go, okay, Mom, we got a joke for you, and then they'll go through the joke. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, okay. And then they run back and put their heads together. Which one are we going to do next? Oh, that one's good for Dad. And then they run to Dad. So it really makes it more interactive, and it also gets them very excited about the next thing they're going to read instead of reading a story and it gets too long. And that's why I keep my books kind of short, because I notice with younger kids, they get bored pretty easily. They can read the same book 100 times and not get bored, but they don't like real long books because they want to get to the end and see what happens. So the joke books are like a whole bunch of mini books stuck into one, because they can read one joke and then they can share it with a whole bunch of people, then come back and read another one. Then they can put it away and they can jump to the end and they can jump to the middle. And it's not like I have to do it any one way. And they'll each find their favorite joke that they each like more than maybe, and share that one over and over and over again. I know my granddaughter, she is now making up her own jokes that they don't make any sense, but she thinks they're hilarious, Like, why did the kangaroo jump on the rock? And I go, I don't know, because the sky was blue. And I go, oh, that's funny. Yeah, I'm like you, Grandpa. I can write jokes too. So she's just having a great time with it. It really helps that imagination just keep growing,
I love that. My oldest, she really, really loved Fozzie Bear, during, and she just thought he was hilarious, but she wasn't old enough at the time to really understand the jokes. So she would be like, why did the chicken cross the road? Do you get it? Waka, waka, waka.
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly. Yeah, my grandkids are stuck on the duck song, and it's great. It's a duck that wants grapes or something. It goes to a store that only sells lemonade, and they
Hey,
listen to
got any
that
grapes?
thousands of times. They can, and the other thing that I noticed that really helps with memorization, because they can memorize these jokes and tell them over and over again. They know that whole song inside and out, and they can go through the jokes. And now they have them memorized. They have them in the back of their pocket. So when they feel like they need to tell someone something or didn't know how to do an icebreaker, they pull a joke out and can do it that way.
So, one last thing I'd like to address, and that's the concept of building verbal skills. Can you think of any words that you used in the book that, rather than just talking down to them and trying to, use words that they already knew, that you knew was probably going to be introducing a new word to them?
Yeah, here's a shocking thing. I don't know why this is. I was at the dental office, and my dentist has a 5-year-old daughter that was there for the summer, and I told her one of the jokes, and she goes, "I don't know what a porcupine is." And I go, "Really?" And then my granddaughters said, "Why would they Because I said, "What do two porcupines say when they kiss?" And then it goes, "Ouch." And they go, "Why would they say ouch, Grandpa?" And so I show them a porcupine, and it opened a whole new level. And then the dentist says, "We got to go to the zoo and see a porcupine." Yeah, what is a porcupine? And I was just like, I just took it for granted. I grew up where there was porcupines all over the place, and I just took it for granted. So it was kind of interesting, some of the things they would see, and some of the jokes even, they would go like, "What runs all the time but never goes anywhere? A refrigerator." And they go, "Why?" And then once they got it, then they laughed and went, "Oh, I get it now." But it was kind of interesting that I took a lot of things for granted that all these kids would know. I thought it was on their basis. But in some areas, like where I grew up, a kid would get the porcupine thing because you see them all the time. The ranchers and stuff hate them because they debark their trees and stuff. So it's a conversation. But that's what I thought was interesting, is some of the things we talked about weren't always, I just took it for granted they know it. And so it opened a conversation. We were able to go on the internet on my phone and pull up pictures of porcupines and show their quills and stuff. And it just, really made a cool segue into that I would have never even brought up.
Oh, I love that. So, for the fans of Mugs and Puddles, and those of you that are now going to be fans of Mugs and Puddles, you have kind of a central world of Mugs and Puddles that you've created. Give us that URL and tell us what we can find there.
Yeah, so it's just Mugs and Puddles and spelled out.com. And they can go in there and see inside the books, and then everything's available on Amazon. And we're doing this today only. We're going to do free downloads on the joke book, so you can download it onto your Kindle or your e-reader, and share it with your kids, and they can go through it and see how they like it. And then you can order a print one if you'd like.
And for anybody that missed the link to get the book today for free, I put it in the description. You got to go and get the Silly Goose Joke Book. I cannot say Silly Goose. Silly Goose Joke Book, the latest Mugs and Puddles book by Grandpa B. Grandpa B, I love all of your artwork and all of your stuff, but I think it has just a special place in the development, especially for girls. And there's a lot of little kids' books that are, funny and stuff like that aren't really for girls,
Right.
And so I really appreciate the kind of whole new world that you're creating. Thanks so much for doing that.
You're welcome. And it's so exciting to see, because here's something funny happened the other day. So when we have the granddaughters or grandsons over, we try to do something different with them, that they're not going to just play video games and watch TV or, eat junk food at grandpa and grandma's. We took our granddaughters to the fabric store to pick out fabric so they could make a blanket out of it, so they could learn how to sew and how to do a little quilting and stuff like that. We ended up doing most of it, but they got excited about it, and we went through the whole process of picking it out. And Mug said, "I want a superhero pattern." I says, "Yeah, you can get Batman, or there's a Spider-Man here." She says, "Where's Mugs and Puddles? They're superheroes. I want a Mugs and Puddles blanket." And I said, "Well, I don't think they have that yet." And he said, "Why not? That is not, if we're superheroes, they should have material made of us." And I said, "Well, I'll work on that." Okay. And I just thought that was hilarious, because she sees herself now as a superhero, that, because she has a cape that we made, out of the t-shirt that's in the first book. And she's just really taking it on. And then they were going to the dentist, And Puddles was going, talking to Mugs because they're really close as sisters. I just love to see how close they are. And they're talking back and forth and going, I'm kind of scared of the dentist. Now remember, you have super powers, and we're superheroes, so you don't need to be scared of the dentist. You need to be like Mugs and Puddles. I said, that's right. And so they marched in there and got their stuff done and came back out. So they're starting to relate with it, which is really fun.
I love that so much. Again, get Silly Goose Joke Book, the latest Mugs and Puddles book. You can get it today for free on Amazon. Grandpa B, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the show today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.